I would like to share a testimony that I had shared about a year ago here on this platform, but God is leading me to share it again this time, this year. And so I'm going to share it. So, about 2 years ago, my best friend's mom, she was dying of cancer, and I was at work when he called me and told me that she only had a few hours to live. And so I got off work. Early, and I called my mom and I told her the situation. I said, "Hey, my friend's mom, she has a few hours to live. She is at a hospital 2 hours away." I'm like, "Do you want to go with me?" She said, "Yes." I picked her up and we let everybody else know, my family know what was going on. And so I started driving to the hospital. And but before we went to the hospital, I went home and I was praying for her. I was praying in the spirit, and God gave me a vision that it was his mom laying down on the hospital bed, and above her there was a thick black cloud surrounding her. And he told me that those were demons getting ready to take her soul to hell. And I was like, what? I couldn't believe what God was telling me. He was revealing to me. So I started praying even deeper, and I said, "Lord, please save her soul. Please save her soul." And so I was praying and praying and praying. And then God told me, "Okay, I heard your prayer. She shall be saved. But you need to go and minister to her and pray for her at the hospital." And I said, "Okay." So then that's when me and my mom went. We drove 2 hours away. And I already knew that the enemy was going to put roadblocks, obstacles to try to prevent me to entering into the hospital and to enter into her room to pray for her. I could just feel it in the spirit, like the devil was going to find ways. And so when I got there, my friend didn't want me to go to inside the hospital. And I said, "Why not? I drove all the way 2 hours away to come see your mom." And he was like, yeah, he was coming up with like 1,000 excuses. And I was just praying to God, like, "Lord, I know the devil is trying his hardest to not allow me to go." So to make the long story short, I had to wait an hour for his family to finish saying their goodbyes in the room. I waited for an hour patiently, but just praying at the same time. And I almost didn't make it inside. And I'm talking about, this was around 8:30 at night. And so when it was finally my turn, my friend he led me to where the room was at. So I was following him, and his grandma, she stood in front of me like saying, "You're not going in there." And I went around her because I knew it was the devil using everyone he could to not let me go pray for his mom. I went around her and I went in. And then so it was me, my friend, and his brother. When his mom seen me, she was very happy. She told me, to take care of her son, make sure he stays out of trouble. And I told her, I felt this urgency. And I told her, I need to pray for you. I'm like, "I'm here to pray for you." And she took a deep breath. And she just closed her eyes. And she just like relaxed. She didn't die like at the moment. But she just relaxed, like saying, finally. Like if she was holding on, waiting for me to get there to pray for her. And so I started praying in tongues in the spirit. I have one hand on top of her head, and my other hand I'm holding on to her hand. And I'm praying in the spirit, and I'm praying pretty loud, that my friend taps me on the shoulder and tells me to lower my voice. So I do. And I'm praying and I'm praying. and I could feel electricity coming out of my body. Electricity, just like static, like electricity. And at that moment, I did not know what that meant. This happened 2 years ago. I didn't know what it meant. And so, but I kept praying. I finished praying, and as soon as I finished praying, I grabbed a tissue to wipe my tears. The nurse comes in the room and says, "All right, guys, time for bed." I barely made it just in time to pray for her, pray for the salvation prayer, just in time. And I said my goodbyes to her, and I walked out of that room. And in my heart, I knew that I had accomplished what God had called me to do, was to go pray for her to receive Jesus Christ. And she did. And I know she made it to heaven. And like I said, God told me to share this testimony again. I shared it about a year ago on here, but I'm sharing it again. And I left. My mom waited for me. We left. And I truly believe that if I wouldn't have not been obedient to God to go drive 2 hours away to go pray for her to receive Jesus Christ, I truly believe that her blood would have been on my hands spiritually. Like, I would be held accountable for her death, and I mean not for her death, for not for her salvation. I truly believe that she would have been on my hands, her blood would have been on my hands, and I would be held accountable for that when I face judgment, because she was not saved. The devil was literally had his demons ready to take her soul. They were just waiting for her to take her last breath. And so I accomplished something very big. And I'm not saying this to brag about it, but I'm just saying that, like, if I truly wouldn't have followed God's instructions, wouldn't have obeyed, the prayer wouldn't have gone out, and she would be in a different place. But I know that she's with God. God told me, He revealed it to me. I know she accepted Christ on her deathbed. She was dying. She ended up dying like at 3 a.m. So she died a couple of hours later. But she received Christ on her deathbed. And God wants me to share this video for the main reason that, for one, every believer, we should be reaching for the lost souls. We should be praying, interceding for others. And God also wants me to share because the importance of being obedient to when He tells us to go pray for that person or intercede for someone is very important. We will be judged for our disobedience and our obedience, meaning the things that we did well and the things that we didn't. And so I pray that if you are watching this video, that you find some encouragement and that you ask God to give you the strength, the grace, the mercy to learn to be obedient to when He tells you to do something or to stop doing something, because you can face consequences and judgment on that as well. So God bless, take care, and Jesus Christ is King.